Even with chip scanner like this, you are able to diagnose a lot of problems if you understand what this engine live data means, and that is what you will learn in this video. I will start my car so we can actually see some live data. This is some pretty rough sound going on, but it will go away soon. Okay, so let's start with fuel system status. You either see OL, open loop, that means engine is running based on learned parameters. Now it is CL, and this is what you want to see. This is closed loop, and now air-fuel ratio is being determined based on data from sensors. So oxygen sensor, MAP sensor sends data to ECU, and ECU will calculate the perfect air-fuel ratio. So you always want to be in closed loop. Now when you start car cold, you might see open loop, and also at full throttle you might see open loop. But when you are at idle, you should see closed loop. Then fuel system 2, I don't have it because I have only one engine head. But if you have V-shaped engine and you have two engine heads, a lot of this data you will see twice. For example, if you have V-shaped engine, you would get fuel system 1 for bank 1. This means this is engine head number 1. And if I would have bank 2, this fuel system status would be for engine head number 2, also called bank 2 in OBD2 scanner. Calculated load value. This is usually calculated from your MAF sensor or throttle pedal. So basically how much work you want from your engine. Engine coolant temperature, this everyone knows. Now short-term fuel trim. This is correction of fuel amount. What this means, if you have plus 20%, this means that your ECU is adding extra 20% of fuel. Now if your ECU is adding 20% of fuel, you have some fault. Most common, there is some vacuum leak. So more air is getting in your engine, which must be compensated by extra fuel. But on this car it seems good. If we have from minus 10 to plus 10, it generally is okay. Then long-term fuel trim. So long-term fuel trim, what it does, see, it doesn't jump around so quickly. Because long-term fuel trim already determined that I need 6% fuel cut. So you can imagine it like when you get car new from factory. This would be 0%, so car is using 100% of fuel, which is supposed to. But then as car get older, there are some problems. So there must be new baseline of fuel. So now my baseline of fuel would be 93.7%, because I have this cut of fuel. And this long-term adjustment helps short-term fuel trim works more easily, because now I have fuel baseline that is more suitable for condition of my car, so it helps short-term fuel trim, does its job better. Next we have intake manifold absolute pressure. So this is data from your MAP sensor, pressure in your intake obviously goes up if you step on gas pedal, and same goes for RPM, this everybody knows. Vehicle speed, also everyone knows what is that. Now ignition timing advance for cylinder number 1. So you probably know what camshaft is, and it is rotating in circle, and if you see 10 degrees, that means that spark plug in cylinder number 1 will fire a little bit sooner, so there is explosion ready at exact time when that piston reaches top of cylinder. So it must fire a little bit sooner before camshaft reaches that 360 degrees. And this means how many degrees sooner will spark plug fire. Now this value, when I am revving up car, I always want to see positive value. It should go up little when you are revving car. And then when you let pedal go, you can see negative value. In some case, maybe at idle, you could see possibly negative value, but you don't want to see negative value when you are increasing RPM. intake, air temperature, also self-explanatory. You have air being sucked in your engine, and you have sensor that tells ECU how hot that air is. This is also important for calculating that perfect air and fuel ratio. Now throttle position, so at which percentage I have throttle open. Now for oxygen sensors, I think we will move to graphic values. It will be easier to explain. So let me open graph. Now this is simple, this is only 3-cylinder engine, so if you got 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder gasoline engine, you will have catalytic converter and at least 2 oxygen sensors. One is before cut and second is after cut. What first oxygen sensor does, this is bang 1 as 1, so sensor 1. What this sensor does is measure oxygen and then it tells ECU like if there is too much oxygen, we need to add fuel, or if there is too much fuel, we need to cut fuel, so there is more oxygen to achieve that perfect stoichiometric ratio 14.7 to 1 air to fuel. And for good oxygen sensor, before cut sensor, so sensor number 1, you want to see behavior like this. It should go up and down. Now when this data is at bottom, so close to that 0 volts, that is lean condition, so not enough of fuel. And when it's at the top, so max value, we have 0.8, 0.9 volts. That is rich condition, so too much fuel. And your car should be constantly oscillating between that rich and lean condition. That is what helps your catalytic converter to get rid of harmful emissions. So now I know my oxygen sensor is healthy, and basically car works like it should. When oxygen sensors will stop working, you will have just straight line, so it will be not going up and down. And then second oxygen sensor, this will be sensor number 2, so bang 1 sensor 2. And this sensor is after catalytic converter, and job of this sensor is to monitor performance of catalytic converter. Now for this sensor you don't want to copy behavior of sensor number 1. If you go on drive and data from both sensors looks very similar, that means your catalytic converter is not working anymore. Now this looks pretty okay to me, and how you can test this sensor, it is better to do when driving. I actually have full procedure. I have membership for just $4. If you are interested, it's on my website. There are a bunch of guides to test oxygen sensors and catalytic converter using just this data. And I cannot move with car right now, but simply how you can test rear oxygen sensor, just step on gas, full throttle, and then let pedal go, and you should see it go through that whole range, so up and then down. Check it out. See, we saw it move through the whole range of volts, so I know it is working properly. We reached maximum and then minimum when I let pedal go. Okay, so understanding this live data can help you diagnose engine problems, but there is also one hack which will help you even more than this. And that hack is not only work with OBD2 scanner, but also learn to use digital multimeter. Now, if you don't know how to use it, don't worry, I got you. I made this PDF which teaches not only live data, little more in depth, but also will show you how to use multimeter and how electricity works in your car. It is very basic, it is not that long, it is like 30 pages, but mostly pictures. So it is easy to go through and it will give you solid basics in car diagnostics completely for free. You can download it in link in description.